Yo, what's good, guys? It's Jordan or Jawz Graphics, and this is how to make thresholded grunge designs. So I want to thank you guys for all the support that I had in my first video. I'm still trying to figure this YouTube stuff out. We're getting some better quality in the next few videos. So yeah, I'm re-recording this intro. We made a very kind of basic looking grunge design. And I'll show you my process, of how I go about making my graphics or whatever. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video and stay subscribed for more. So like I said in the last video, I work on a document that is 14 inches width and 17 inches height. And I work on a resolution that is 300. So for this video, we are going to be designing on a white t-shirt. So we're going to create a new filler adjustment layer, head over to solid color, and then for white. So I'm going to look through some images with you guys. Alright, so we have our first image here. We've made a few edits just to kind of make the t-shirt match up. But basically the idea we're going for is kind of like a portrait of a boy. He kind of looks a bit distressed, upset. And the reason we used it for the mouth here too is we might put like a cigarette in the mouth or something like that. Or, I don't know, add some face tats or whatever. So right now we're going to look for our second image. So we're going to have a look for a barbed wired fence. So a wired fence. So let's have a look for some images right now. This looks good enough to me. Let's take this here, import it into our Photoshop, and let's just scale it up as much as we can. Right, that looks good to me. Bring it below. Right, so this is what our image is looking like right now. We do want to delete like all the white parts of the design, just so when we're putting it onto our markup and stuff, we don't have all of the excess white parts. So our image here, we're going to convert it into we're going to rasterize the layer. So we'll convert it into a raster. We're going to click color range. We're going to grab all the white parts, and then we're just going to press delete. So right now we have no background on this image. We're just going to bring it down. And then, yeah, so what I think we are going to do is we're just going to threshold it quickly just to kind of see how it would look. So we're going to take all of our images of the body here. We're just going to press Control while we're left clicking on the layers. And then we're going to press Control J to duplicate it. And then we're just going to convert it all into a smart object, which makes the editing really kind of seamless. So let's click Threshold now. This is how you create the kind of like the illustration style. So you head over to your adjustment layer here, click threshold, and then what we'll do, we'll press Alt while hovering over both of the images seamlessly. And then basically what this does is it adds what we call like a threshold layer to your design here. So I'm gonna play about with this. So right now that doesn't really work out. So what we can do, we can head over to our adjustment layer again, add a brightness and contrast layer, flip it down, and then we can turn the brightness down but the contrast kind of up. So then we get these better kind of selections of where the light source is. So we're just gonna put Control on there and then Control J again to duplicate it because we don't want to lose our our previous layer. So we'll just go back over to threshold. And then as you can see, kind of our color choices are a bit more sort of expanded. So this looks decent enough to me. So yeah, we're gonna do the same now to the wired fence. We're just gonna add a threshold layer. Kind of mess about with it, and then we get this this kind of barbed wired threshold look. I don't really like that at the moment, so what we're going to do, we're going to head over to brightness and contrast, and we're just going to do the same, but this time we're going to bring the brightness up, bring the brightness down, but put the contrast all the way up, so that way we get kind of the highlights of the fence, but at the same time we get the dark parts of it. So we're just going to do the same. We're going to duplicate the layer again and merge it. And then grab our threshold. and kind of play about with it the way we see fit. So that looks decent enough to me. We're just gonna leave it at that. And then what we're gonna do now, we're gonna grab some other images. I'm not too sure what we're gonna do yet, so I'll get back to you when I've got my images ready. Alright, so I had an idea of what we were gonna do for the composition. So we're gonna head back over to our threshold layer and then create the new layer just above it. And then we're gonna head over to the rectangular marquee tool, which creates our squares and our rectangles. And we're just gonna start drawing kind of like squares. So while the square is selected, we can move it over. We're just gonna click fill, and then that looks good to me. And then what we're gonna do then, we're just gonna click Control J to paste another one, and we're just gonna start, kind of getting squares and kind of putting them around the images and stuff. So what I had in mind for for this kind of design was to capture like what's going through this kid's life, why is he so upset, and then we'll have like a powerful sort of like message at the end. That's something I like to do in my graphics, is create kind of like relation between people, no matter kind of like where you're from or whatever. There's always somebody kind of going through what you were going through, and I think this is kind of like what the brand is going for in terms of with the designs and stuff. So that's something we're really going to consider. So I'm going to come back to you guys when I've got kind of like the composition all sorted out, and we'll get on to actually making the piece. All right, so now we've got our 4 squares separated evenly with the character. So what we're going to do here, we're going to put some like images in here which I think kind of good to add. And I'll go through, kind of my process of finding these images too. Like I said, this is just a concept, so we're not going to go like too crazy with the design. We're making something very simple. So we're going to go on to Google here, and then we're going to find maybe like abusive parenting or something. So, right, abusive mother. And then we're just going to kind of have a look for, the images that, would match our kind of concept. So I kind of like this image here. So we're just going to copy this image. We're going to place embedded. And then we're just going to scale it down. Match it up to the square. And then we're going to find what square this is. So I believe this is layer 3. So we're just going to drag it over. And then we're going to flip and mask it into this layer. So right now we're happy with the image. However, we don't want it to look like it is. We kind of want to have the same effect as, this character here. So we're just going to head over to our threshold selection again. And then we're going to get it to kind of look like this. I really like it. It's really grungy. However, we can't see the square. We want it to look like pictures, so we're going to head into the blending options again. Head over to stroke. Select black. And then just going to move it up and switch it over to outside. So it looks like this. We got about on 29. However, we don't really want it that high. We're just going to move it down to about maybe 21. That looks good enough to me. So we're going to do the same for all of the squares now. So we're going to click Alt. We're going to head over to the FX, our little icon here, and we're just going to hold it. And we're going to drag it up to all the squares, which is a really, really quick way of getting the same kind of blending options, on all of the things that you have present in the document. So we're now going to find other pictures. We're going to find probably school bullies, maybe. This looks like a good image to use. So gonna get this. We want to drag it up. That's my fault. I'm gonna fix this here. We're gonna scale it down like so. Try and get it kind of centered to the, to the square, and then we're gonna find what square it is. So I think it's layer 3 copy. Just gonna drag it down, and then we're gonna kind of clip it in there. Grab the threshold tool again. Clip it down there. And play about with it until we see fit. So that looks a bit too like flat for me. So instead of doing that, then we're gonna head over to our brightness and our contrast again, like I said previously. I'm just gonna play about with the brightness and the contrast of this. So head back over to threshold again. As you can see, even though all like their faces are selected, the boys isn't. So yeah, that looks good enough to me. So as you can see, you can see the boy here. That looks good enough. I'm just turning my light on real quick. Alright, so now we're gonna find some more images. We've got school bullies, we've got like abusive parenting. There's trying to think what we can do for the other 2 images. So I think definitely we could have like like a passing father or something. So let's do like grieving boy maybe. Yeah, so let's try and find something with potentially like a gravestone in there to really kind of capture what we're talking about. Because obviously, there's not going to be any backstory behind this graphic, so you kind of want to see what people. Yeah, so this one would be great. We probably will have to kind of block out the name here, but this one will match up perfectly with what we're trying to portray. So we'll have to bring this to the top again, kind of scale it up. Remember, we're scaling up from the corners, so we keep the kind of proportions the same. We'll bring it down to the box here, flip and mask it into there, and then add our threshold layer. So right now that obviously doesn't work. So what we need to do again is get the brightness and contrast. You can do this for camera raw as well. However, I think brightness and contrast is kind of good enough. So let's just play about with that. We don't want the grass to be too dark, because we kind of want to keep the same lighting as the other images here. So yeah, I think you can tell it's a gravestone. If not, we'll kind of fix that at the end. So yeah, so we've got unfortunately a passing, we've got school bullies, we've got an abusive parent. So that's we're kind of brainstorming what else we can have in there. All right, so for our final image, we can have like a breakup, like a high school heartbreak or whatever. So that's right, teenage breakup maybe. Try and find something with like the boy in there. Let's see if he kind of like matches up with the. You can't really see the boy, but that image is way too okay, that image is decent resolution, so we'll use that. Just gonna bring it up above the square again, and then we're just gonna scale it. We'll have to scale this one up because the width is quite dominant, so let's kind of center it to make sure that we get it in the square, and then we're just gonna clip in mask it. Yeah, we're gonna clip and mask it onto the square. That looks perfect. And let's just see if threshold will kind of do this justice here. All right. So that looks kind of off to me. Looks way too kind of dark. So we're just gonna play about with the brightness and the contrast again. So to hopefully get a better match, because we kind of want it to look similar to these and to the background image that we have. So bring the brightness kind of down, but the contrast up, and let's just kind of see if this works. They have white t-shirts on too, so that makes it a bit difficult. Alright, we don't want that, so we're going to play about with the brightness and the contrast again. Let's scale it up, and then go back into our threshold adjustment. Right, so that looks a bit better. You know, you can clearly tell there's been an altercation or whatever between the couple. So, you know, we're getting somewhere along this graphic. So this kind of looks, you know, a bit too boxy to me. So what I'm thinking we could do, just to kind of round it off a little bit, is we could completely layer mask it, which would, you know, remove it. So like I said in the previous episode, we head over here, we clip it, and then we press Control-I to get rid of it all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move my brush up by pressing, you know, kind of like the borders of oh my bad, pressing like the brackets, and then I'm gonna take my brush and put the blend mode onto dissolve, and I'm just gonna kind of shade in wherever I want the barbed wire. I don't want it to be too boxy. That's why I'm not doing it, you know, among all the width. I do want some on the top and at the sides. But then I'll switch it to black where I don't want it. So I don't really want it like around here as much. If you zoom in, yeah, that looks good enough to me. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna brainstorm, you know, what I can do for like the text and stuff, and then I'll get back to you guys. Right, so on like our text layer now, I just shortened it down a little bit and made it like white. Obviously, however, you know, we kind of want like a background to go with it, so I'm gonna head over to my files. I'm gonna do this sick little texture that I've got from Duran Studios. So I'm gonna look for kind of like a paper texture. Actually, I really like this line scan texture, so I'm just gonna flip it 90 degrees clockwise. I'm gonna scale it down just a little bit, like so, and then I'm gonna bring it like below the text. So I'm gonna keep centering it, you know, to where I want it to be. I only want it to be that much from the text itself, so I'm just gonna create the box just so I can kind of get like my widths and stuff sorted. I'm just gonna move it then all the way to the P, like so, and then I'm gonna have like a guide. So if you don't know how to do guides, in your Photoshop you should have like these kind of like ruler looking things. And then if you wanted like a horizontal guide, for example, you just come all the way over to like the corner or wherever, and you drag it across the screen. So we're happy with like how that's placed. So on our scan here, I'm just gonna deselect that, but on our scan, we're just gonna bring it in, and then we're gonna do the same for the top. So we just want to Control T, bring it down, and see like, okay, what do we like? I want kind of maybe this amount of height away from it. So like previous, I'm just going to grab my ruler to mark the top of it, which makes it much easier when we're kind of selecting. And then just going to bring it down. And then grab my ruler again, Control D, Control T for the stamp, for the scan texture. I'm just gonna line it up like so. Then I'm gonna head over to View and just clear my guides. And now everything's, you know, lined up as is meant to be. So for the line scan texture, I don't really want like all these little bits. So what I'm probably gonna do is head over to my camera raw filter. I'm just gonna zoom in, and then I'm gonna head over to texture, I think. Bring that up, bring kind of like the clarity up of it. And then kind of mess about with these little elements. So I like kind of like the gritty effect that we've got here. Alright, so we're kind of happy with how that looks. Now what I want to do, I want to add the line scan texture over all of the design. So I'm going to put all these into a group. So I already actually have this in a group. So what you need to do to put things in a group, you literally grab the layers. So you highlight the layer and you press Control for everything you want to add into the group. So I did make a bit of a mistake here. I added these two into the group. So what I want to do, I want to bring these out of the group now. And then on the group with all my other layers added in except for the solid color fill layer, I want to Control J to duplicate the group. And I just want to hide where the other group is. So as you can see now, if I close this up like so, you know, everything looks so much more organized as such. So what I'm going to do now is on this kind of like, on this duplicated layer here, I'm just going to convert it into a smart object to make everything as one. Alright, so now that we have it in a smart object, I'm just going to go over to place embedded on my file section again. I'm going to find the same line scan texture, like so. I'm just going to scale it up. And then I'm going to clip and mask it into the, you know, into the layer here. So as you can see, everything bar the text on the box is, you know, is being covered by the line scan. So now what I want to do, I want the same kind of effect that we have on here over to there. So I'm just going to hold Alt on my keyboard now and drag this down to this line scan texture. Now we have this kind of like gritty effect again. So on this, you know, everything is being covered by the landscape texture. We don't want this. We only want the black selected. So we're going to head over to lighten here. So everything, you know, except the white is selected. And then we're going to lower the opacity a bit to maybe about here. As you can see, you know, we've created like this really cool sort of ink bleed effect. So now the problem that we have is these aren't, you know, kind of differentiated. So on the line scan here, we're just going to add like a little drop shadow maybe, but we're going to create the, you know, we'll probably make it white. So like so. And then we're just going to move these to make it a bit more centered to the graphic. So right now we're kind of happy with the graphic and how it looks. I don't really like this line texture again on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a solid color. Put it onto black, and then I'm just going to duplicate it inside of there. Clip the mask inside of there. However, on this white problematic youth text, we could actually add a line scan texture. So we're just going to grab this, paste it over here. Now Yeah, so the line scan texture actually doesn't look good on the text. So we've just duplicated it, and I'm just going to convert it into a smart object here. And then we're just going to set it to multiply. I'm just going to lower the opacity of it a little bit. Then we create this kind of like grayish text. Let's have a look over it. Like so. Yeah, this looks good. So right now what we want to do, we do want to mock this up. So we're going to remove the white background. Save it as a PNG. Then we're going to head over to the full and more markup like we used in the last video. I set it to, white on the colors. Place embedded, find our image. Scale it down where we see fit. Make sure it's centered on our markup, like so. And then we have a basic kind of threshold looking graphic. So if you guys want me to do more of these, I will be making them a bit more advanced in the next few videos. So if you want me to make more of these, let me know. We'll be playing about with new styles, kind of making much better graphics. And yeah, check out my Instagram where I post loads of design tips, how to get clients, so on and so forth. And make sure you check a sub or a comment. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.